Our guest is Paul Simpson. His book, Revolutionary Spirit, A Post-Punk Exorcism, is out now. Now, spring of 82, you're living at 20 Devonshire Road in Liverpool. It was a home to a coven of black magicians, and they raised a malevolent entity that wouldn't let you sleep. Talk about this. What kind of stuff
Okay,
did you
so
experience there?
well, I'll have to put it into context. I was living with sharing a house or flat in a house with Peter Freitas, the Bunnyman's drummer, and Pam Young, the Zoo record secretary. It was okay, but the house was constantly getting broken into, and our stuff was getting stolen. So we needed to move really. Uh, Meanwhile, Julian Cope from the Teardrops, who's still great friends of mine at the time. You know, he Julian had been married. He'd got married on a whim, really, without really telling any of us. And then he became kind of famous around that time. He started having hit records and stuff. And his marriage sadly sort of collapsed. So his flat was vacant, which was on the top. Was 20 Devonshire Road. It was the top floor. It was beautiful Victoria. It was a really lovely flat, lots of rooms, leafy suburban part of Liverpool. So Julian needed, and his ex Kath needed someone to keep an eye on the place until they could find somewhere to, sort out their belongings. So he invited Pete and I to live there, kind of rent free, really, to keep an eye on the place, which we did. So when I say it was home to a coven, it wasn't a coven when we moved in, but a coven of witches, we were informed, had occupied the ground floor of the property 5 years previously, so all the walls were painted black. It was very weird. As I did see in there. Now I only discovered that later on about the coven that operated out of it. But from the minute I stepped into that place, I felt we were targeted. There was a lot of strange stuff going on in that flat. Started suffering from sleep paralysis and constant nightmares, just things going on. Weird things that electric shocks constantly. I mean, it might have just been that the house was old and hadn't been wired up properly. I don't know, because the trouble is, you see, when you're young and you're porous minded and you're taking a lot of drugs, you draw connections, and the connections I drew, that there was some sort of malevolent entity in that flat that wouldn't let me sleep. And
I think I'm
yeah,
looking at the house here. Is it a three-floor white paint? I did a Google map search here.
yeah, it wasn't white in my day. I think it was. I described it as covered in vomit-colored plaster. Yeah.
Okay. Is this the same place that Courtney Love moved into? Is that because that's
Yes.
in your book? You talk about that Courtney Love
Yes.
moving in for a brief period.
Pete and I were having breakfast one morning, beautiful spring morning. We hear a taxi pull up outside. We look down and we see these two girls kind of explode out of the taxi, looking like sort of broken umbrellas, And
Described a teen bride of Dracula. That was the
well,
description.
yeah, I mean, well, because they were goths, you see, they were a specific type of American goth you get at the time. So it wasn't kind of the European kind of cold kind of goth. It was the kind of quite quite loud sort of raw skirt American variant. I called it. At least that's what they looked like to us, because we weren't goths. We weren't part of that scene. Although there was a kind of there was a sort of goth scene in Liverpool, based around this club called Planet X. Anyway, so Courtney shouted up, "Oh, hi, are you Pete and Simo? We're friends of Julian." And Julian said we could stay here. So I thought, weird, you know, they don't look like Julian friends, or the people Julian would be friends with. So while we kept on talking, I tried to ring Julian to see if this was correct, because we did have a spare room in the house, and technically it was Julian's flat. He wasn't living there, hadn't been living there for ages, but technically it's his flat. And as Julian asked us to put these girls up, we couldn't really say no. And I couldn't get verification off Julian because he wasn't answering the phone. I find out years later, he tells me that He wasn't answering the phone on purpose. He knew they were on their way. Uh, but he said to me, I didn't expect you to actually let them stay one night. So anyway, so we let the girls stay, and they were fine. You know, they were nice. They were polite. Courtney, being Courtney, was quite loud and opinionated. But you know, that was probably the first American I'd met outside of record industry people. They were quiet. They kept to themselves. The only thing wrong with the girls staying was that they overstayed their welcome a little bit. You know, we thought, well, we'll let them stay for a few nights and we'll let them stay for a week. Well, okay, we'll let them stay for a few weeks. But it went on for months and months and months. And they pretended they were looking for somewhere to live themselves. But I now realize, why would they? They were living rent free in a really nice flat close to town. Why would they pay to live somewhere worse, you
Right.
know? So
Yeah.
I now know they were mad Teardrop Explodes fans slash Bunnymen fans. So they were kind of curious. They were teenagers, young teenage girls. They were curious. So
This
they
is
were kind of
early
looking.
80s.
This would be about 82,
Yeah.
81, 82, maybe early 82. You know, in our defense, you know, because we ended up kind of kicking them out, really. In our defense, you see, we were young men. We were having an amazing time. Echo and the Bunnymen are on the rise. You know, this new band, the Wild Swans, are coming up. You know, we're touring together. Exciting times. We've got girlfriends, and so to have these teenage Americans living with us was hugely cramping our style. You know, we had to change the way we lived really, and to accommodate them. And so yeah, so in the end, we had to kind of eject them really.
Yeah.
Yeah.